Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Navigating NewSpace, our 2021 season, produced by the Matthew Isakowitz Fellowship Program. My name is Shana Hume, and I'm a 2018 Fellow of MIFP and one of the hosts of the segment this year. In Navigating NewSpace, we interview fellows, mentors, and affiliates of the program in order to examine what the new generation of leadership in the commercial world of NewSpace will look like and what some of the upcoming challenges and items of note are. Today, I am so pleased to say that we have 2021 Fellow from the program, Gautham Viswaroopan. I just said that wrong. Cannot believe that after you said that, Gautham. And we are going to talk about how international space and commercial space intersect together and how his experience with the Matthew Isakowitz Fellowship Program influenced him and his career. Welcome, Gautham.
Hi, Shana. Good to be here and close enough. I'll take it.
You know, it's that brain fuzz, the first episode around, so better to get it out now when I have a guest like you who's kind about it. So how have you been and what have you been up to?
Doing swell. I'm currently I'm attending classes right now. So at UCLA right now, doing my PhD. Classes are going smoothly, but work hard, play harder, and every day is about space. What could be better than that?
Fantastic. So to give us a little bit of background about where you were before and since you became a Matthew Isakowitz Fellow, could you give us some of the highlights of your college and professional career?
Sure. So like you, I myself am a fellow buff at CU Boulder, so SCO Buffs. I did my undergraduate studies in mechanical engineering until 2017 and finished my master's there in 2019 in aerospace engineering. Right now, I'm in mechanical and aerospace at UCLA, working in the materials degradation characterization laboratory.
Awesome. And you were a fellow this past summer, correct?
Yes. This summer, I had the proud chance to go and work with the Aerospace Corporation, focused in launch vehicles.
Another thing we have in common. That was also where I did my fellowship. So in commercial space, what parts of the sector have you bounced around so far? Have you mainly been in launch vehicles?
Yes. As of now, with commercial space, career-wise and professionally has been with launch vehicles, but I had a unique experience. So all my work with this fellowship was mostly R&D stuff directed towards the Department of Defense, but I also got to focus into more of my own proposals of where the future of commercial space is headed towards. With structures and materials, my interest goes into structural health monitoring and non-destructive evaluation. So in terms of commercial space, I want to see if there's a way for us to look at more autonomy in being able to manage, I'd say, any type of launch vehicles or even spacecraft.
That's such an exciting topic and one that I know a lot of people who are applying to this fellowship are really interested in. What do you think is next on the horizon in autonomous vehicles that people should keep their eyes on?
I would say right now, definitely keep an eye on SpaceX, especially with Starship. We are definitely seeing commercial activity. We're already looking at the billionaire space race right now. Commercial space is closer than you think when it comes to us young professionals being involved.
Yeah, I think that's something that, again, everyone who's participating in this program, we all hold a strong belief that young professionals are going to make such a big difference. Definitely. I'd actually love to elaborate on that with you a little bit further. The role of young people has clearly been evolving, and that's a big part of what this fellowship is trying to do, is to help transform the experience that we can get as young professionals and the impact that we can start to have as we begin to move up into the space industry. How do you feel like it's been changing from your side of the experience, and what are you looking forward to the people who are in our generation being able to do next?
Definitely, and this is a beautiful topic too. At the moment, we are right now at the face of next-gen aerospace. Aerospace has been existing in the way an average, say, 980 work schedule has been. However, now as interns or even young professionals, even from my MIFP experience as well, we're given full authority to go and take over and lead however we believe best fits. We are an active voice of where the commercial space generation is headed. What I know is global collaboration is going to be one of the biggest things we're yet to face. So when it comes to commercial, we just need to speak up and be an active voice. We need to stop waiting for someone else to bring up the idea. And if we have something in mind, let's play our cards on the table and let's just take action. Go straight for it. And that's what I would like to do with my thesis.
Incredible. And what exactly is your thesis about?
Yeah, so I'm trying to work on structures and materials with structural health monitoring on being able to reevaluate reusability with launch vehicles. What we have right now is known as non-destructive inspection, where we take a lot of time looking at different launch vehicles to say, okay, based on the current life cycle or the overall status of a launch vehicle, can we reuse it? Where's a potential defect? What can we do to assess it? And how can we mitigate that to make sure our next flight is equally as safe? I'm trying to work together to put together an autonomous algorithm to go through, rapidly assess any body, any shape, any geometry of any material to say, hey, boom, 30 minutes. It's assessed, the flight's good to go. Oh, wait, here we've identified a defect. These are the operations you need to fix it. Okay, it's fixed. Now it's good to fly again.
Incredible. What benefits would that have in the space industry?
Right now, it's the benefit of time, cost, and labor. Where we sit right now is the amount of time we've been spending in going through, as you know, reusability has been the biggest game changer so far. Mm-hmm. But if we can optimize reusability by being able to take out more of the time that's needed to check, quantify, clarify, and even qualify what is safe for reusability, everything's starting to get more and more autonomous to make it even more accessible and easier to use for civilians. You saw Inspiration 4 work, right? We sent 4 civilians into space, one of them whom we both mutually know as a really good friend, as the face of NextGen. The more we can create autonomy in there, the more we can give space as an opportunity to everyone. And that's where I see my thesis to best fit.
That'll be a really interesting one to read for sure.
Thank you.
So where are you now at with that research? How far along that path?
So with that research, I absolutely love it. I guess what motivated me to really pursue this path, and I'm even proud to hold my mug for it as world's okayest engineer, is I realized I was really good at failing. Mm-hmm. And from that, whether it be personal, whether it be professional, when my dad told me that I was really good at failing, I realized failure mechanics is where I need to be. So every time I fail, all I know is I'm failing forward. But if I'm that good at failing, could I help prevent other people from equally failing? I know it sounds kind of corny, but it's really pushed me. And with what I'm doing right now, I've been able to develop successful algorithms that can just go and assess a specific geometry, classify what type of defect it is, as well as quantify and identify the size as well as its location. The goal right now is to see, I'm doing it all small scale though. And as you know, everybody's research always has room for growth. You and I both come from the background of, is this enough? Am I actually headed forward somewhere? But being able to identify the new fields of where it can grow and improve is what I'm most happy about having this idea in mind. Trying to see what are some other implications or complexities that we can start adding when more civilians try to enter the space sector.
Wow, that puts a whole new definition on the phrase failing upward.
Yeah, thank you.
It also makes me wonder how your insight into our common mantra, failure is not an option, works, because I guess for structural engineers, it's kind of the key.
That's actually a quote that we go with within my department. Failure is always an option. And if you fail, you're failing right. But if you're unable to source where you failed, then you just wasted a lot of time failing. Yeah. Either way, you contributed to failing. So if you failed, you won. And if you didn't fail, you still won, right?
Yeah, sounds like it. You know, a few minutes ago, you mentioned something really interesting that I really wanted to discuss today. You talked about how with young people, you think part of our power is that we can contribute to international space in a way that perhaps past generations of young professionals weren't able to. But I know that a lot of people, when they're getting started, think about that and have no idea what that phrase means, how potentially students or, young professionals would have the opportunity to contribute to international space seems very nebulous and unattainable. I know that you in particular have had a lot of experience with this. Could you maybe share some of the paths that took you to start learning about international space and some of the ways that students watching this could get involved?
Surely. Yeah, definitely. So one thing that was game changer for me and was also a big reason of why I was even aware of the MIFP program in the first place is a student organization known as SEDS, Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. So when I first joined SEDS, this was back in 2013, I went in as a secretary. I'm still active right now, and I currently reside as our international advisor, helping run 35 plus countries around the world. Where commercial space comes into play, it all starts from all of us just taking the initiative of, why am I waiting for an opportunity to open itself? What can I do to get it started? I have an idea in mind, but how many other peers around me are probably thinking the same thing? Should I just reach out and ask? Why not? At the same time, we're also here to help build a network, right? And Shayna, as you know, you and I are both active with another student org known as Space Generation Advisory Council. So from all of our history together, the same reason how we even met each other, through SGAC first and SEDS as well.
And then
using the network
afterwards.
Yes, that's right. So, but like, we found all of this overlap because we started getting involved through organizations, finding like-minded peers with us, and then coming up with ideas and innovative methods of what's a problem that's out there that needs to be solved. Obviously, one thing I realized is I'm really bad at one of those people to come up with innovative ideas when something's working. It's why try to fix something that isn't broken? But I changed my attitude by joining these innovative organizations to see there's always room for improvement. Find a way to fail forward. If you think something's most efficient, I promise you, you're wrong. There's always another way to grow. At least with the work that I've been doing with SEDS, I'm currently actually partnered with a company called Redwire Space, formerly Maiden Space. And together in SEDS, there are about at least 18 representatives of the 35 active countries working together for all of us to develop a project where the winning design for an optimal tool for a stranded astronaut on Mars can actually get 3D printed and kept aboard the ISS. We can't disclose further information as we still have an NDA with Maiden Space, but students that are out there, if this sounds like a project that's of interest to you, know that I was in your shoes. I was a freshman in 2013, so 8 years ago. I know what it's like to be where you are. It's what can we do to take our first step forward to getting involved, and if we have an idea, how many others are willing to share that idea and grow together as a team? We are the next generation. And as you know, we've had the space race where we've competed as countries before. Now we're having a billionaire space race. For us, it's commercial space needs to be focused on the growth of us as a species. And to me, since that stood out, I decided to apply that through SEDS.
That's a wonderful lesson to learn, and incredible that you're able to actually partner with real companies, that the work that you're doing isn't just project-based, which, although that's a great learning tool, isn't something that actually always touches the real world. Being able to contribute to a project at a student level is fantastic.
Thank you.
So following up on what you said about SGAC, I think this is particularly timely given that this weekend is one of SGAC's major conferences, the Space Generation Congress, which is taking place in Dubai this year. What impact does SGAC have on the international space community? Why is it a worthwhile place in your mind for young professionals to get involved in if they want to have that impact?
Definitely. So I guess the best way to elaborate this is the founders of SEDS are also the founders of SGAC. Mm-hmm. SEDS is for students worldwide. But once those students graduate after creating SEDS, where's a place that we can go where it's just young professionals considering the next generation of space? Why did they wait? They didn't. They formed SGAC. The same founders then eventually for higher education also formed International Space University, or ISU. With SGAC, we have the chance to go meet minds from around the world, brilliant minds who all come from different educational methods of teaching, where for us, for example, all-roundedness was a value, and being a specialist in your field was also an important value. But other countries, I coming from India, know that theoretical knowledge and conceptual knowledge is very important to have. Being a person that came from, I guess, a double lifestyle childhood, I understood that if I was able to see from two different sides, how many of these other folks that are with us in the space realm could also see. Everyone thinks that the space realm is huge. No, the aerospace sector is a very, very small sector. But when you meet all of these motivated minds that are willing to also speak up, get involved, even taking the first step as in to just go and attend a conference, these students will be there to come and give you a different perspective of how they see space changing. But when you start to see that overlap, to see so many minds think the same, you all can innovate together, contribute some ideas, and form where the next generation should be headed. And SGAC does just that.
You state that so beautifully. I feel like that needs to be a quote on someone's wall, just promoting SGAC as an organization. You've convinced me to stay involved, that's for sure. So, speaking of which, another major organization you're part of is one that we're actually here today to discuss. So let's jump tracks and talk for a little bit about the Matthew Isakowitz Fellowship Program and the impact that it's had on your life. So as one of our more recent fellows, you have a bit of a fresher perspective. For me, the Matthew Isakowitz program came right at the end of undergrad. So it was at a big turning point in my life. But unlike a lot of those who do it in graduate school or when they have a little bit more experience, I didn't get to have that chance of knowing exactly what it was that I wanted to do ahead of time. How did your career path before the fellowship and your experience of the fellowship itself influence you going forward?
Definitely. I couldn't be more grateful in getting into this fellowship. And I guess to the audience members watching, I cannot hesitate but stress this. Please apply. Like, even if you don't get in the first year, you have to get in this program, because I've had the chance to intern at a lot of places, but no internship is equivalent to this fellowship. Not only is it about the experience that you get to see where your research will contribute. I had the opportunity to go to both DoD and commercial space, but you also get the network. The folks that I met within just my class at first, I was blown away listening to the thoughts, the perspectives, where they came from. As you know, like as a PhD student, I loved listening in to be able to learn from the undergrads that were also on my team. And the best part out of it all, we felt like a family. Like, without having met each other, everyone's personalities just clicked so well. We all wanted to learn from each other. We always found room to grow. We were always so supportive and uplifting. And being able to hear one topic from someone else's mind who's just as passionate gives us a completely different perspective, but helps us reevaluate how to see it and how to assess it. The other thing I couldn't be more grateful for is also the mentorship portion. Getting the chance to have a mentor. The mentor I had was an absolute godsend. And I'd really like to thank Steve Isakowitz for even making this possible. My mentor and I are still in touch, and they've helped change me not only professionally, but personally, for my attitude, the way I'm pursuing my career goals, being able to help me reevaluate my future aspirations. And I even got to go and attend a rocket launch, because they were willing to invest their time in me, because I also took the time to invest my time in them.
Who was your mentor?
My mentor was Lee Rosen, Vice President of SpaceX.
That's incredible. I think that question, just needs to be asked after you gave such a glowing recommendation.
Yeah, Lee, if you're watching, I absolutely love you. Thank you for everything. You've changed this summer has changed my life.
I think that's one of the most amazing things about the fellowship to me is they put all of us, in whatever capacity we are, student, young, professional, and they put us next to these incredible people who feel kind of just like the celebrities of our field. We feel in awe a little bit of the work that they do. And these people aren't there to talk about themselves. They are there to talk about us and to help us and invest in us. And that is just an absolutely priceless experience when someone wants to put all of that energy into where your career can go. Definitely sounds like
I'd even want to mention, when we had our final event, our group event together towards the end of the summer, guys, that's another beautiful thing about MIFP. When you want to get involved, you'll meet all of your fellow colleagues. They've all interned at different places. You'll get to meet them, but you also get to meet their mentors. I'm just thinking to myself and digesting when I was standing in one small building with some of the most brilliant executives, brilliant minds as executives from all these different corporations, whether it be the Department of Defense or commercial space. You have all this breadth. They talk to you and they treat you like an equal. I was just sitting there just slowly trying to digest that. Oh my God, is that astronaut Sandy Magnus directly talking to me? Oh my God, she just said my name and she's giving me eye contact. What do I do right now? But you have the chance, and once you make these contacts, all they're going to remind you is just keep pushing forward. They've achieved up to a certain level, but they're here to remind you that this is where we left it off. You guys are the next generation. What can you do to help improve what we took the initiative to start?
Wow. That sounds like an amazing time. And am I right that your summit was in person this year for the first time since the pandemic started?
Yes, it is.
Wow. I know the team put in some incredible work into all the virtual summits, but I know that going forward, for all the fellows that joined us virtually during that session, it'll be so much fun to get to meet them in person because at these summits, normally a good amount of the alumni come back as well. So not only do you get to meet your class and the mentors and all the affiliates of the program, but you get to meet all the people who have ever been in the program and who are able to go back to LA that weekend.
Oh, I would also like to use that. Thank you for reminding me. We had the chance to meet the alumni, and luckily, a lot of the alumni, almost all of the alumni that did attend, like happened to be in LA. Because if you're in LA and you're alumni, of course you'll be there. Because I reside here as well, I made all these new contacts. They're now my hiking buddies. So what's better than as a Coloradan that I get to hike and talk about space? Like, I couldn't be happier.
That's a fantastic point. And I think it brings to what you were saying earlier. The people you meet in this fellowship aren't just going to be your colleagues and aren't just going to be your work buddies. They're the people that you can hang out with outside as well and form these network connections, people who can help you through life changes as you figure out where it is you want to go next in your career and in your life.
Definitely.
Wow. As always, I love hearing what fellows have to say, especially the ones who were just in the program, because it's glowing every single time. And it's no different than it was the summer that I was a fellow, the very first year in 2018. Every single person to come out of it has absolutely been enamored with the experience.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, it is very exciting. So we definitely still have some time to explore other topics. I know we're going to talk at the very end of this segment to any prospective MIFP applicants out there, so definitely tune back in or stay online for, 10 or so more minutes to hear more about Gautham's tips for what you can do. But let's talk a little bit about the challenges that we see coming up in NewSpace going forward. There is so much to be excited by, clearly, and everyone in our circles is very excited by commercial space. We all tend to want to talk off the mouth about everything that we've been learning about recently. But there definitely are some challenges that we're going to encounter during these growing pains of the new space industry as we figure out how to switch from the world of startups into maybe something more established and more interplanetary, potentially. Do you have any thoughts on what challenges you think about the most, or the ones that you think will be most significant in the next 10 to 20 years?
Definitely. And it's actually part of the reason why I got involved in my SEDS project since the beginning. I have a large interest for space policy. And I guess for those of you who are watching, there's another organization I'm also part of known as Space for Women, where you can get involved for mentorships. As you know, I'm a man, but you can get involved. And my mentor actually created the space policy sector. So she's also teaching, like one of the first to start teaching about courses regarding it. What I believe one of the biggest challenges is going to be there for us in commercial space is ITAR modifications. Commercial space is going to be a beautiful realm where all of us are interested in seeing how can we make space accessible for us as a species. We're no longer going to see borders. And that's the one common quote you'll hear from many astronauts. When they're in space, they say it's strange to be able to look back on Earth and not see all the borders that divide us up. We're all here together trying to achieve the same goals. And I think that biggest challenge we're going to face is ITAR modifications. I myself am trying to pursue that as well, adjacent with my PhD right now, to see how can I work together alongside, it's known as the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, to see if we can make any modifications in ITAR for commercial space. Space policy is going to be the next big thing of our generation.
I couldn't agree more. One of my mentors when I first joined SGAC was actually a space lawyer from Europe. And hearing about the sort of wild west that's out there right now in space law and space policy is intimidating. It could go a lot of ways, but it's also very exciting because it seems to lay this groundwork where people like you and your mentor in that program can come in and change some of the framework that hasn't really worked in the past.
Definitely, 100% agree.
And for those who aren't very familiar, because I know some people watch who are very new to the world of new space and of commercial space, could you describe exactly, what ITAR is and what changes that you would hope to see? Obviously, people in the industry have strong opinions about this, but there are some definite ways that we could make small, concrete modifications and improvement in the near term. And I'd love to hear what you think about them.
Surely. So yeah, sorry for not giving the background, but ITAR is International Traffic in Arms Regulation, in regulations. And what that means is, honestly, as an international myself, when I first came to America, I lived in Colorado Springs, the home of the Air Force Academy. And I myself couldn't go to the academy given that I was international. And for those who don't have citizenship or permanent residency, there's certain things that we cannot access. Space is a very, very sensitive, like, as you know, it's always heard as space and defense. So imagine all the international minds out there that want to go to another country to study and then get involved in industry, but their country doesn't offer that sector, so they need to go somewhere else. That country is not willing to allow them to get in, given that they're not a citizen. This is where ITAR comes into play. Like, ITAR is the reason why there's that wall. But if we're able to make those modifications with commercial space, saying, hey, even though the student is not from this country, but they're going for the same global collaboration growth, can we make a possible waiver for them to be able to still get involved on this project because they're still following what we're trying to do, what's best for humankind, for the future of space for humankind.
Wow, that would be some amazing changes to see happen for sure. While we're on the topic, do you have any advice for international students that, you might have learned some tips and tricks along the way from yourself or from other people?
Yeah, definitely. So guys, even if you are international but want to get involved in space, they do say, like, certain companies, yes, they say that experience is needed, but there are always contracting companies that contract with these corporations. And actually, I can use a perfect example. Shanna, if you remember, I actually got to TA you in our class for spacecraft design. What we had in our class for that was, we made sure that in order for our international students to get the opportunity to still apply and gain that experience that you need to be seen in industry, right? We're trying to make these opportunities of conceptual design review, CDRs, or conceptual design reviews, where you can put together the ideas and concepts of, hey, even though I haven't worked in the industry, I can still show you that I can put a satellite together, work on a team, try to go and solve a real world problem given this instrumentation, or get involved with your launch vehicle organization at a school. Get involved, make the project, show the purpose, the background, the affiliations. There are always companies out there that are seeking just the theoretical mindset or the conceptual mindset, where they don't need to give you the secret clearance or the Department of Defense clearance to work on it. What if you could be a specific design engineer at a contracting company, making a specific part that's then acquired by that Department of Defense for that respective country?
That's fantastic. And those tips are ones that I know a lot of my international friends at the undergrad level ended up pursuing when they were figuring out how to do their career. So plenty of people can figure it out and can make it work. And it's a good start to get your foot in the door.
Definitely.
Awesome. So as we wrap up and as we come to the close of our time here today, I want to talk about the applicants who are right now trying to become the next MIFP Fellow class. Do you have any tips for people who are still turning in their applications in the next week and a half, or who maybe already have, but tips for them as they go through the rest of this process?
Definitely. Yeah. So the most important piece of advice I have, guys, is when you write your statement, make sure that you're pouring out your passion. Passion speaks louder than anything. I'm trying to think of the best way to word it, but you'll know you truly love a job. For example, when you're writing a cover letter for a job, there's some cover letters that are so easy to write because you're just that passionate about it. You know exactly what you want to do with that position, and you know the experience that you have to apply for it. Matthew Isakowitz Fellowship is a little bit different. We want to see how passionate are you actually about space to be able to say that this is the vision I have for commercial space and this is how much I love space. The more passionate you sound, the more committed you sound, that you're willing to take on a problem head on. And though you have like a limited amount of background, like you're working with professionals in industry, you have the motivation and willingness to learn, that nothing in the way will stop you. No failure can hold you back. I would also advise, oh, sorry, Shayna.
Oh, by all means, continue. This is
a second thing is your letter of rec. What's important to know in terms of getting a letter of rec? Don't just seek out a professor because of their name, status, or title. A really good letter of recommendation comes from someone who knows you both personally and professionally. If you're an undergrad, for example, a sophomore or going to be a rising junior in that summer, it's better to be getting a letter of recommendation, say, from while doing your research at a university, from a PhD that you're actually assisting as an undergrad research assistant, for example. The PhD's letter of rec for you compared to that faculty advisor's letter of rec will be much stronger because the PhD student got to know you personally and professionally. They saw how you grew. They saw how you adapted. Those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I think that second one that you brought in, I'm really glad that you mentioned it. So much of the time, it feels like there's a pressure to, get the highest person you can at your college. But the most important thing when we're reading your letters of recommendation is definitely to understand the kind of work that you put in on a day-to-day basis outside of the bullet points we get on your resume.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, you made some fantastic points. Gautham, thank you so much for joining us for episode 1 of this segment this fall. We appreciate you being our first guest and kicking us off so that we can hopefully answer all the questions that the 2022 class has ahead of time.
Thank you so much, Shanna. Proud to be MIFP.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. For everyone else, if you have any other questions, you can find us at Matt Fellowship on many different forms of social media. We have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have Facebook accounts. You can ask us questions. You can also reach out to many of the past alumni and fellows and ask them questions about the application process, about the program, or about NewSpace itself. You have until October 29th to submit your applications. So take that time, put in your energy, and like Gautham said, pour everything of yourself into this. We cannot wait to see who you are in these applications, and we cannot wait to learn more about your passions for transforming the world of commercial space. Thank you so much. Remember to join us later this week for our second interview with another co-host, Sydney. Thank you for listening. Good night.